Good evening, I'm Sean Garland. In local news, this past weekend in New Jersey, our town hosted the world's greatest steampunk festival, known as the Steampunk World Fair. This festival has been an annual event for several years since the steampunk subculture has been rising in popularity. Fans of the sci-fi genre turned lifestyle have been traveling from all over the world for years now to this central location in order to celebrate the lifestyle that brings them all together. For those of you who don't know, steampunk originally began as a subgenre of science fiction about 15 years ago when its founder wanted to separate it from its parent genre, cyberpunk, which has some vital differences from steampunk. Now, with more information on this subculture, we have Cassidy Dye, our research journalist, who had the opportunity to speak with some fans of steampunk this weekend. Now, here's Cassidy Dye with the report.
Thank you, Sean, and good evening, everyone. As Sean said, my name is Cassidy Dye, and I'm your local research journalist on the topics of local cultural events. And as such, I'm sure you can understand why this is one of my favorite weekends of the whole year. On the second weekend of every May, our small town gets to host its biggest cultural event of the year, the world's greatest steampunk festival. And fans of this literary genre travel from all over the world to spend their weekend here, full of fiction, fun, food, entertainment, costumes, and more. Steampunk is a subgenre of science fiction that is only slightly different from its parent genre called cyberpunk. This genre has existed in numerous forms for about 60 to 80 years, but the term steampunk was coined in the early 1980s by author K.W. Jeter and has risen in popularity since the early 2000s. This genre is all about fantasy, creativity, imagination, and focuses on a world that the mainstream culture would find just slightly impossible. This impossibility comes from the fact that most steampunk stories are based in the Victorian era, but focus on machines that weren't invented until the discovery of the steam engine and the Industrial Revolution many years later. Although logic keeps most of us from taking these stories as reality, thousands of people have fallen so in love with this genre that its influences are starting to be seen in many other areas of mainstream culture other than just literature. In recent years, steampunk influence has been seen in fashion, television, home decor, and household technology. Just some examples of this would be your high-tech laptop decked out like an old-fashioned typewriter, or an iPhone connection that allows you to answer your calls on a phone that look like it belonged to your great-great-great-grandma. Influences can also be seen in movies like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Alice in Wonderland. Most notably, steampunk can be seen in street fashion when the hippest, trendiest people look a bit like an 18th century explorer or lord. Just in my time researching this culture, I have fallen in love with its imagination and excitement, but even I can't get across the beauty of this philosophy quite like an actual member of the community could. I was lucky enough to be able to attend the festival this weekend and talk with some of the biggest fans of the lifestyle. Here's an inside look from my weekend at what steampunk means to people just like you. Hello everyone, my name is Cassidy Dye and I'm here reporting live from the Steampunk's World Fair, where I've been fortunate enough to get to talk to a steampunk fan himself, Ben. Hi Ben.
Hi Cassidy.
Ben, tell me a little bit about what steampunk is for our viewers who have never heard of it before.
Well, steampunk started as a literary genre, but since it's developed into a whole culture, I'm a newer fan, just starting to get into it, but many people's whole lives revolve around it. And steampunk stories are based on the Victorian era and focus on all aspects of Victorian living, with one minor difference from the actual 1800s. All of the technology that's used in steampunk was made about 50 years later, so there's a big element of imagination involved. It's all about the best of both worlds, really. The old world charm, positive view of the future, new discoveries and vitality of the Victorian era, mixed with the aesthetic charm, industry, and revolutions of the steam engine era. And there's sometimes other defining qualities like magic or ghosts, but it really depends on the individual writer.
Okay, awesome. Now, you're just dressed normally, just like any other person, but I've seen a lot of the other people here dressed in crazy costumes and stuff. Tell us a little bit about what those costumes might look like for the more hardcore fans and other ways that steampunk has influenced mainstream culture.
Yeah, a lot of people here are dressed in the cliche Victorian steampunk costumes, and a lot of the fashion that we see more in everyday life includes mimics of these outfits in a subtle way. Alexander McQueen is a major mainstream fashion designer, and he calls steampunk influence a lot.
Okay.
This influence can also be seen in Tim Burton's movies and in some mainstream house decorations like old-fashioned trunks, brass decorations, and accents.
Okay. Thanks for all that great information. And I'll let you get back to the festivities right away. But before you go, just tell me a little bit about what steampunk means to you personally and what it was that drew you to this lifestyle.
Well, steampunk is really all about imagination, creativity, and looking at the good side of life. We believe anything that we can imagine can be a possibility, so we create this ideal world to escape in. We like to create a world full of aesthetic pleasure and beauty that contains Victorian ideals with modern technology. And I think a lot of kids like me are drawn to steampunk because it critiques the mainstream culture. Mainstream culture just takes things too seriously, and kids like me just like to have fun. And in the Victorian age, kids had very structured home lives, but that's something we don't really have anymore. And I think kids nowadays are really nostalgic of that, a simpler time. And we use this imaginary world as an escape.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with us, Ben. And I hope all of the viewers at home now have a better understanding about what steampunk is. So this has been Cassidy Dye reporting live from the Steampunk's World Fair. Sean, back to you.